Hello and welcome into the Birds of the Round Table. At last, feels like it's been a long time. We get to do a Victory Tuesday episode of the podcast, and we couldn't be more excited about it. I am your host, Shane Haff. Give me a follow on Twitter at Shane Haff NFL. Joined as always by the crew. We've got Ryan Reese. Give him a follow at Philly Sports PSA. Ryan, your boy Nakobe Dean's back. I'm sure we're going to talk about it. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing much better, obviously. After a win, life is good. So it wasn't perfect. Offense still, still has a lot to fix, but much better after a win.
Yeah, always. Also joined by David Neese. Give him a follow on Twitter at David Neese PHL. David, how are you doing, buddy?
Same as Ryan. Just waiting to see 4 quarters of football played in one game, but a win is a win. You take them any way you can get them. And can't wait to break down the Giants again 48 hours later from when we did 14 days ago. But so is the NFL schedule these days.
Yeah. The NFL schedule just drives me up a wall. Like, it is not this complicated. You should never be playing the same opponent twice in a 3-week span. It's bad for it's bad for the product. Like, who's interested in watching an Eagles-Giants game this week? I mean, nobody would be interested in an Eagles-Giants game anyways, but Eagles-Commanders at the end of the year, we do the same thing 2 times in 3 weeks. NFL, I am pleading with you. Divisional games week 1 through 3, divisional games week 16 through 18. It's the perfect solution, but I've talked about that before, and they don't appear willing to listen. I also just don't like the NFL schedule from the standpoint of the Eagles have a bye, and then after their bye, over their next 7 games, only 3 of them are on Sundays. They go Monday Night Football after the bye at Green Bay, short week to Sunday against Detroit, Sunday at Dallas, and then short week to a Friday against Chicago. Long week to a Monday at the Chargers, short week to a Sunday versus the Raiders, short week to a Saturday against Washington. Like, that's insane. I don't know how these guys are supposed to get into any kind of a rhythm when you can't just play games on Sundays. I have accepted that Thursday Night Football is just part of the NFL schedule now, and I don't love it, but whatever. It's 1 game a year. But the Eagles are going to end up this season with 2 Thursday games, 2 Monday games, and then also games on Friday and Saturday, 2 games on Saturday. And that just seems excessive. But this isn't an NFL schedule review. I'm sure I said all these things when the schedule came out back then. It's actually a show where we're going to talk about the Eagles finally winning a football game, the Carson Wentz revenge game, as Ian Rappaport tried to hype it up as, despite the fact they've played 3 times since he left Philly. When the Eagles granted his trade request. But whatever. The Eagles get the win 28-22. We're going to break that down. I'm sure we're going to talk about the Bandon Graham news, and we're honestly probably not going to preview the Giants much because we just did it 2 weeks ago. But David, I'll throw it to you first. What's your top offensive takeaway for the Eagles?
To me, I don't like to start on a negative, but I guess I am. It's still the lack of a running game. The offense, the way they're winning, like they had 5 shot plays for 215 yards and 3 touchdowns. Those are fun. Those are exciting. Those are great to watch. They're also not sustainable. And, the running game is just not there. And Patullo kept to his word. He said he was going to, pound the rock, and he did. Saquon got 18 carries. Unfortunately, it was for like 44 yards, if my memory's right. And they just don't have an answer. And I know, you'll look to the injuries and the wear and tear from last season and everything else, but it's also fair to start, questioning the depth on this team. And that includes, the autonomy that Jeff Stoutland has had to pick all of these players on the OL who are underperforming. Like, some people believe Tyler Steen is. I think Tyler Steen has kind of played as well as I would have expected for the most part. He's pretty good in pass pro, not a mauler like Becton in the running game, but Dylan McMahon not on this roster. Trevor Keegan, not on this roster. Cameron Williams, Miles Hinton. You can go back further of all these offensive linemen that just haven't worked out. And that's been their bread and butter of success for the past 15 years was the coaching and the drafting and cultivating a culture with all of these guys. And it just hasn't been there. At the end of the day, everybody, criticizes Patullo and the offense and the scheme, and all those should be criticized. But I think it's also fair to start criticizing Stoutland some, because this season, Stoutland U has looked a lot more like Stoutland Community College.
Did you rehearse that line?
No, but I wrote it in a story.
Okay. I was going to say, that if you came up with that on the fly, that's good. Yeah, it's kind of one of those things that, I don't do like in-depth run game reviews. I do in-depth pass game reviews over on Patreon, but I do watch the whole game because I tweet through the whole game, and I don't recall a single gap scheme run in this entire game. I think everything was just inside zone, outside zone. There's no diversity in the running game, and you really see that. So that wasn't my top takeaway, but I'll jump off of that there just to say that. So Ryan, I'll throw it to you. What was your top offensive takeaway?
Yeah, I mean, I hate to, kind of try to not pick anything different, but yeah, it's the run game. It's this. I mean, yes, I was happy that they actually, committed to running them all, and there were a few, decent runs, but for the most part, it's ugly. It's they're probably dead last in every category, it seems like, for the run game. And it doesn't help that it seems like every game we're just putting somebody else into some different position on the offensive line. And again, this time it was Cam Jurgens. And this bye week can't come soon enough for these offensive linemen. I mean, they are banged up. They are not playing well. And, again, I think it's easy to kind of put all the blame on injuries and nagging this, that, and the others, but something else isn't right. And David alluded to it with Stoutland. It's, I don't know. I couldn't begin to tell you, finger point, what the true issue is on the line, but they just don't seem like themselves. They don't seem like the offensive line that we, have been accustomed to for these past X amount of years. So there's that. Maybe some health forthcoming can mask and mitigate some of the issues that truly plague this run game. But yeah, I mean, as David said, it was nice to see some of these plays. It was nice to see Jalen Hurts balling out and doing what he needed to do to clutch up a win. But that's not how every day, every game, every win can look like. It's just, it's not something that's going to happen every week. So until this run game gets fixed, I won't be satisfied with this team, with this offense, with the fact that, they just can't put together 4 decent, not even good quarters, decent quarters of football. So.
Yeah, currently the Eagles rank 23rd in EPA per rushing attempt, 30th in success rate, and they rank 31st in stuff rate. So it's just been, it's been as bad as you think it has been. And I will mention, it is not Saquon. Saquon had some awesome 1-yard runs in this game that should have been 5-yard losses. Yeah, it is perhaps time to start having conversations about Jeff Stoutland as a run game coordinator, because some of it just doesn't make sense. Like, you have Brett Toth come into the game and you're asking him to reach block a defensive tackle in the B gap to the play side. Like, that just doesn't make any sense. Like, that would have been a tough block for Jason Kelsey to make. And you're asking Brett Toth in his second snap at center in the season to make that. And he's not even a center. He's a guard. And he's not even a good guard. He's a bad guard. He's a bad guard that doesn't play center. And on the second snap, you've got him playing center. You ask him to do something that would have been tough for Jason Kelsey. It doesn't make sense. So my takeaway on the offense, though, that I wanted to talk about was scramble drill. Well, under center play action and scramble drill. I'll lump them together. But I have begged the Eagles to get under center and run play action for 2 years. They finally did it. You get a 79-yard touchdown. You got a couple of dig routes that were big plays off of it. That was a nice thing to see. Hopefully we continue to see that built out over the season because there's so much you can do with that. And then also the scramble drill. I feel like I've been saying for over a calendar year, the Eagles are awful in scramble drill. It just, when Hurts breaks the pocket, nothing ever happens, and it's not because he doesn't look downfield. In this game, this was the second game of his career without a scramble or a throwaway. And so when he broke the pocket, he was throwing the ball, and guys were getting open. And it's just like so many times when you watch the film in the past, he breaks the pocket and guys just kind of stand there or they run into each other's way. And it seemed like there was a plan. And I don't remember if it was Kevin Patullo or Nick Sirianni were like talking about how they practice scramble drill all the time. And that's a total fabrication because you don't practice scramble drill. And it looked like before this week, but I have no doubt they worked on it this week. And it led to some big plays. The 4th and 4 on the opening drive, that is terrible concept that was never going to work. But A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts connect on a scramble drill. Devontae Smith picked up a first down on a 3rd and 15 off of a scramble drill. You had A.J. on another scramble drill. And so that's good. Seeing that improvement is good. Now, we need concepts to be better. We need to continue to flesh out the under center play action, and certainly we need to fix the run game. But I thought there were some nice signs in terms of starting to see under center play action work and seeing a plan. I mean, what the biggest benefit of having a mobile quarterback is the second reaction plays. When the play you drew up doesn't work, so many times they can break pocket and improvise and get an explosive play. And that's especially important for the Eagles because so many of the plays they draw up are garbage. And so having those second reaction plays is a huge element of this game that have been missing for a long time. And so seeing them have that was really nice. And I hope that wasn't just a one-off. I hope it's something that we will consistently see moving forward. So let's flip it over to the defensive side of the ball. And Ryan, I'll throw it to you first to talk about Nakobe Dean. What was your top takeaway?
Yeah, listen, it was certainly nice to see Nakobe out there. And yeah, honestly, it really, it is not what you would have expected from a player who had the significance of his injury to come out and look like. I mean, it almost had been like he had missed no time at all, honestly. Yeah, was he, perfect? No, but man, he was picking up on things. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I watched the play where he got the tackle for loss in like slow motion. It just kind of brought a tear to my eye to see him back out there. And while it's funny, he's coming back to the best unit on the defense by far. They need any help they can get. And honestly, the biggest help that the defense got was the offense, not putting them in 3 and outs and right back onto the field. But overall, yeah, it was really nice to see Nakobe out there. And yeah, I thought the defensive line actually played a little bit better. Obviously, Jalen Carter seemed to be up to his old tricks of wrecking, Carson Wentz. So I thoroughly enjoyed that.
All right, David, what about you? What's your top defensive takeaway?
On a broad view, the Eagles bend but don't break philosophy kind of defined the day. The defense held the Vikings to 5 field goals on 6 red zone trips. Inside the 20, they've been elite. And for a positional player, Quinyon Clamps Mitchell, who everybody was worried, was going to be unable to play due to the hamstring injury. I mean, luckily he was a full go, but I think he's showing the league that he is one of its best cornerbacks in the National Football League. He blanketed Jefferson. He only caught, I believe it was 1 pass for 10 yards on 20 matchups against Q, which is just unbelievable. And even, Ringo and Adoree', if you listen to Fangio, he wasn't that upset with their play. He thought they had some, pretty good reps against some difficult routes. And don't want to say it was an indictment on the pass rush, but he thinks, if you're having to run with somebody for over 3 seconds, it's hard to cover anybody in the National Football League. So he had some praise for them as well, but I think we're watching a bona fide star unfold with Quinyon Mitchell. I mean, he's just unbelievable.
Yeah, Quinyon is so much fun to watch, and I'm excited to see him against the Giants next week instead of having to watch what we watched the last time we played the Giants. But for me, it's wondering what the Eagles are going to do at linebacker. So our Patreon members they voted for Nakobe Dean for the player spotlight. So I watched every snap he was on the field and just recorded a watch along. And it's just night and day, the difference he makes in the run game when you can keep him clean. If you get a blocker on him, it's over. He's not able to really deconstruct those blocks and get off of them well. But if he sees a gap, he's going to shoot it and make a play. And there's some really good examples of that in this game. And you're not getting that from Jihad Campbell. And so what the Eagles did a lot of times is they played Nakobe Dean in base. Sometimes that meant putting Jihad Campbell as an edge rusher. Sometimes it just meant taking him off the field. But they played Nakobe Dean in base. They played Jihad Campbell in nickel. But near the end of the game, they were actually also playing Nakobe Dean in nickel. And so I don't know what that means. I don't know if they're like thinking, man, he's playing really good. We're just going to kind of replace Jihad Campbell. I don't know what the Eagles are going to do. I don't know how you handle that, because if you think about it, like Nakobe Dean's the better player right now, right? I mean, I think we would agree with that. He's certainly better in run defense.
Yeah.
Maybe Jihad Campbell is like marginally better as a coverage guy compared to Nakobe, but Nakobe Dean's really good at that. I don't know what they do, because Nakobe Dean's on the last year of his contract. He's probably gone next year. You spend a first-round pick on Jihad Campbell, a guy who's played well. It's not like Andrew Makuba, who, by the way, I think Andrew Makuba is the worst player on the defense right now. Maybe I'll talk about him in a second, but he just maybe I'll talk about him now. He routinely busts coverages and misses tackles. And I don't want to like throw a rookie on the trash heap after week 7, because he is a rookie and he bounced around colleges and positions at the collegiate level. Clemson as a slot defender, to Texas as a safety, as a post safety, to the Eagles as a split safety. So it's all different, and it's a complex defense, but he is a liability. And so the Eagles don't have anybody behind him. So it's not like you take him off the field to get better at the position. They don't have anybody behind him. I think you continue to play him. But like if this was year 2 of him as a starter and he was playing like this, I would already be saying, who are the Eagles going to replace him with next year? And so hopefully he gets better. And, I'm certainly rooting for that. I think it's very possible. But ideally down the stretch, you could see a big boost to the defense just with Makuba not busting coverages. So hopefully that comes. But following my meandering thoughts back to the whole Nakobe Dean, Jihad Campbell of it all, Campbell was playing well enough that he's the odds-on favorite for Defensive Rookie of the Year. And so how do you take that guy off the field? Like, he's played well. Nakobe Dean's just a little better. And so you get into an interesting conundrum of like, do you play Dean, which is the win now move? How much of a difference does that make? Do you play Campbell, which is the long play because you've got him under team control for the next 4 seasons? Or do you try to start playing him at edge rusher more, which is the outcome I really don't want, because I think that sets his development back more than just being a backup linebacker. So I don't know how the Eagles are going to handle this. I know they put him at the edge a lot in this game in base, but they almost always bailed him off into coverage. And so that could become predictable. I have no idea how Vic is going to play this, but I'm fascinated to see and what that timeshare and split is going to look like. So that was kind of my defensive takeaway as well.
Yeah.
Anybody have any thoughts? Anything else you want to jump in on the defense before we move on?
Yeah, just to kind of answer almost your question about what do they do at linebacker. I mean, we, had been talking about this all off season once they made the selection for Campbell, is eventually Nakobe Dean is going to come back. And what are they going to do? And I think right now, as you said, Dean is so much better in run defense. And Campbell is definitely better in pass defense. And I think right now you kind of play the odds right now. Is you're in a run situation, you throw in Dean. You're in a pass situation, you throw in Campbell. Maybe just, wild thought, you could occasionally give, Zach Bond a breather, but let's not get crazy. I think honestly that's the best way you do it, because I'm with you. I don't want to see him at edge. I know we have a crazy issue at edge right now, so much so that we begged a guy to come back from retirement to play. But yeah, I think you're right. I think that slows his development so much so that it's like, well, why'd you even bother draft him if you were going to just throw him there? So, I think you just situationally use them as you see fit, and you take at the end of the year, right?
Yeah, I mean, would you have ever believed
No.
that in the year of our Lord 2025, we would be sitting here talking about which of the 3 good linebackers the Eagles have should be the one that's off of the field? I never would have believed it. So it's a great conundrum to have, but it's a conundrum.
Yeah, true. Very true. It was like I said, it was good to see him out there. Obviously, I want to see more. The more he's out there, the more he's acting like his old self, or at least his 2024 self. Yeah, the more I feel better about this linebacking group.
Yeah, and the thing, Keith had a comment here that Campbell's not good in the box. You should play Dean. The thing is, though, like, I've seen measured improvements from Campbell as a run defender as the season's gone along.
Oh, absolutely.
So even if you just play Dean in run situations, you're still setting back Campbell's development because he is. So it's a tricky thing to balance. And I mean, that's why, fortunately, this is a conundrum on the defensive side of the ball where I trust Vic Fangio implicitly, not on the offensive side of the ball where I'm quite certain that it would get messed up. So at least it's in the hands of the guy that I really trust in that room. So, all right. Anything else on the Vikings game you guys want to mention before we flip it over to the Edge news? And then I guess we can briefly mention the Giants game. Thank you, Carson Wentz, for being a bonehead for 6 plays a game. Love that. Pick 6. That pick he threw to Nakobe was one of the dumbest things you'll ever see. I think Greg Olsen mentioned it on the broadcast, but like they ran a play where CJ Ham is his primary in the flat. First read, wide open, walks in for a touchdown, and Wentz doesn't throw it and then gets an intentional ground. Like, just thank you, Carson Wentz, who played well for large stretches of this game, but it's just that 4 to 5 boneheaded plays that have ailed him ever since the injuries started to pile up. So,
and shout out to Jalen Hurts for baiting Isaiah Rodgers to come off of AJ Brown with the old 2024 hand signal to get him to come off. Rodgers thought he was reading something, and shout out to Devontae Smith for calling his own number on the 79-yard shot play too. Apparently, He begged for that all half.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. Brett Eclipse said, genuinely cannot tell who was more impactful to the Eagles winning on Sunday between Wentz and Hurts.
Man.
Oh, man. All right. Well, on that note, let's get into the Bandon Graham of it all. So Bandon Graham is coming out of retirement to play for the Eagles. I'll go first on this one. I am thrilled that BG is back in the building. I have questions about what he's going to be able to offer on the field. I mean, I know like these guys are like fanatics and it's not like they retire and just stop working out, but it is different. Nobody works out the way you do when you're an NFL player in your retirement. And even if he had, being in game shape is a big deal too. Now, I don't think he's going to be worse than Patrick Johnson. So, give him Patrick Johnson snaps and whatever. I don't know that he'll make a huge impact, especially early on. It'd be great if he does. I love Bandon Graham, but from in the locker room, in the film room, on the practice field standpoint, I think he can make a huge impact here. And so I'm very excited Graham is back. I don't think it fixes the edge issues by any stretch of the imagination. Honestly, the thing I think it helps more is going to be like the run game, especially from those condensed looks that have been getting the Eagles the last few weeks. I think he'll make a bigger impact there than as a pass rusher, which is certainly a big issue. But so overall excited, but I do think a lot of people are viewing this as like the salvation of the edge room and not taking into account that he's been a relatively low sack player his whole career. So I don't know how many sacks did he have last year? I don't even remember. I know he missed part of the year, but
yeah, I don't remember either.
I will look it up. But David, what was your thought on Bandon Graham coming back?
I mean, a lot of what you said. I mean, he's here to take on a veteran role, not the Nolan Smith role for him being out. He's here to get 15 to 20 snaps and take on the role that they had to fill late in the season because he left. And they did that with Zadarius, who then retired midseason, and they had another opening for the job for veteran edge rusher. So they needed an adult in the room, and he's it. He's not here to be Nolan Smith. He's not here, to do all of that. But he is here to give pointers and help, and try to assist in Jihad Campbell, especially if they're going to use him at edge more, which seems to be part of the plan, at least for the next few weeks. So, and I agree with you, he's going to help a hell of a lot more in the run game. I mean, he's already the best edge rusher on the team to set the edge right now. He probably walks in as that. I mean, it's just, and coaching is a lot different coming from a veteran player than a coach. And BG does that all game long, all day long in the locker room, on the field, on the practices. And I think it's something that was sorely missed in a few of these rooms this year. I think we talked about it last week. Just they let a lot of veteran leadership go out of this building with Slay and BG, etc. And they didn't have a plan, to fill those roles, and they kind of have scrambled looking for guys late like Jacorian Bennett, Zadarius, and it just didn't work out. So I'm thrilled that he's back. It's just, like I said, it's just another adult in the room.
Yeah, in his last 30 games, he has 7.5 sacks. So that breaks down to about 4 sacks a season. So not a big sack guy. Hasn't been, but the leadership and the run defense hopefully play a part. Ryan, what are your thoughts on Bandon Graham coming back? What do you expect?
I mean, honestly, this may not be a popular opinion, but I'm kind of against it. Yeah, I'm sure he will definitely provide some veteran leadership and, having that voice in the room, but I'm sure they could just hire him to do that, right?
Yeah.
I'm actually have to put him out on the field. I mean, let's be honest. What are they expecting him to be out on the field on Sunday?
Yeah, I think so.
No, not this Sunday against Green Bay.
Okay, I mean, all right, so that gives him a couple of weeks, but geez, still, I mean, I guess we're that desperate, right?
Yeah,
and that says more to me. If you're that desperate to beg a dude who, whether or not he, had 1 foot in, 1 foot out, whatever, but you're still coming to a guy and begging him to come back and play midway through the season, that shows how desperate you are, how depleted you are at the position. If you're that bad and you have Super Bowl or bust aspirations, you have to go out and make a trade. You have to act, and not just, oh, hey, let's, overpay for, somebody that doesn't. You have to go get a bona fide play. Like, this is your biggest weakness. Your defensive line is not getting to the quarterback. It is not getting sacks. It's making the linebackers' job harder. It's making everybody else's job harder. Go out and get somebody. Like, yeah, hey, this is a great story. BG back in the building. We're going to be hearing him chirping, probably, for the rest of the year. And that's fantastic. But you could hire him to come in and chirp and be on the sidelines and yelling at people and being in the locker room and motivating people and doing all that without getting them out on the field.
I don't think this is that move either. This
Yeah,
isn't
no, I don't either.
preventing them from getting an edge rusher.
No, I'm certainly not saying that it is. I didn't mean to insinuate that that's what I thought, but obviously they still need to go out and do something. I'm just thinking now that they're like, oh, well, we have Bandon Graham. Let's go get a middle of the tier kind of guy. And I don't, again, when Howie goes middle of the tier, it generally doesn't work out. Just going off of history.
During in-season trades haven't been successful.
No, you're right.
Really.
I think, on the last episode I had on the Football Smackdown show, we talked about it and we're like, I think the last good in-season trade was J.J.
Yeah.
And that was forever ago, So I think it's time to swing for a fence and try to get, big name here at least, a big impactful name, because then Bandon Graham comes in and immediately doesn't have to do too much, can just be situational, can be a Chris Long type, if you will, which would be the perfect scenario to spell a guy for a series or a few plays and come in and just attack. It worked out for Chris Long and those Eagles. So that's what I would like to see. And I'm not saying that I don't have faith in Howie to go out there and pull a move. I just think bringing in Bandon Graham might help to lower the players in the crosshairs, so to speak, and not go up.
I'm saying it. I do not have faith in Howie to make an in-season trade acquisition that matters. I'm saying it. That just hasn't been the track record.
You're not wrong. I'm just saying, as far as the target area, I think the bar just got lowered a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think this fixes it. I think it helps because you can now stop playing Patrick Johnson, who shouldn't be playing snaps.
Sure.
And to me, I would love to land a Max Crosby. I don't know what the financials are. I know there was a concerted effort to get ready for the Carter contract, and there's points you have to do that.
Allegedly, and this is more comedy than anything, allegedly Dallas has already reached out to the Raiders to try and see what it would take to get Max Crosby.
Yeah.
If only they had somebody in the building.
Yeah, I bet they could get him for 2 first-round picks and Kenny Clark. So, yeah, at least you're not the Cowboys. That's great. To me, I don't know if you can swing a top-tier guy. And so if you're going to approach it from we are not in on a top-tier guy, I would just as soon bring BG back to replace Patrick Johnson and send a day 3 pick for a defensive tackle to replace Byron Young. And I think you upgraded your defensive line pretty significantly. You didn't raise the ceiling, but you dramatically raised the floor just by getting those 2 guys off the field. So,
and you get Nolan Smith back eventually, and that, again, is addition.
Yeah. And that's the thing I've said for a while is, I think Josh Uche, I think Azeez Ojulari, I think those guys are fine edge rushers. They're a 6 out of 10. And I think to really upgrade on them, you're talking about sending a day 2 pick or more, or getting a guy you got to pay. Whereas I do think there's day 3 picks that you could swap for some defensive tackles that would make an impact in the rotation. So, if I was going to try to do it, that's probably what I would do. I mean, I would certainly inquire about the Bradley Chubbs, Max Crosby's of it all.
How about Jermaine Johnson?
Jermaine Johnson, yeah. I would certainly be making a move at defensive tackle, though. And so that's kind of how I view the BG thing. It's a plus in the tangibles category, and it's a plus in the Patrick Johnson being inactive now category.
Not being on the field category.
But I don't expect him to come in and get I don't expect him to come get 3.5 sacks this season. I just expect him to inject a little energy and be a veteran presence. And I'm fine with that for a team that's Super Bowl chasing. You're not taking meaningful reps away from a young guy. He's not going to take meaningful reps from Jalix Hunt or from Nolan Smith when he's back. And if he eats into, Uche or Ojulari reps, that's fine. Those aren't long-term guys anyway. So I kind of view it as there's no negatives here to me, unless you think this just fixes everything. And I surely don't think that that's what they're thinking. So that's kind of my take on it all. David, anything else you want to throw in on that before we move on to the Giants?
No, everything you said about the edge rusher, I don't think it'll prevent them from moving forward. I think they're still looking actively to try to add to the position, either one, defensive tackle or edge, whichever one they get better value at. I think that they're still interested. I think Jermaine Johnson is a name that they like because of all of the Georgia Bulldogs on the team. There are a lot of them that are very close with him, even though he only played a year or two there with them. They are still very close, and I know that some of those guys are trying to advocate for Howie to go out and get him, but Chubb, obviously, with the Fangio connection. But I do think that they're definitely trying to get something. I agree with what you said, that the goal is probably more likely to raise the floor than the ceiling.
Yeah. Jacorian Bennett for Thomas Booker, who says no.
The Raiders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on then. And I don't really have any interest in doing top matchups to watch for the Giants because, again, we just talked all about it. So let's throw it around the horn and do if there's anything you've got about the game that you're really keeping an eye on, throw that out and then give us your score prediction and your MVP. So I'm changing up the format here. So I'll go first to give you guys time to think. Just a second. Crazy day today. I didn't even have time to coordinate anything with the guys. They got the link from me 10 minutes before we went live. Just an insight into my life today. But anyways, I honestly, I'm just looking for the Eagles to bow up this game. They got embarrassed on Thursday night. They got out physicaled on both sides of the ball, and it's not going to happen again. Obviously, Quinyon Mitchell being back is going to make a huge difference. Jalen Carter being back, but there's a lot of defensive guys that walked into a film room after that game and they were embarrassed by what was on the screen, and that's not going to happen again. So I think the Eagles are going to win this game, and I think the Eagles are going to win this game big. So I will take the Eagles to win 38-13, and give me Jalen Hurts player of the game. So, David, did I buy you enough time?
Yeah. As far as just a defensive take, I think a lot of the big plays that the defense have given up the past couple weeks have come outside of structure. They're just, kind of broken style plays, and Jackson Dart presents that same challenge again. Jalen Carter being in the middle definitely changes that equation. Quinyon Mitchell being outside obviously changes that equation, but he was a very hard person to get down. So when they get hands on him now, they're going to have to get him down to the ground. Because the way the Eagles have been winning, they're 5-2, which is great, but they've scored 23.8 points per game and given up 23.6 points per game. A 5-2 record is not sustainable going forward with that kind of production. I mean, and I think you've kind of seen the defense turn the corner a little bit. You've seen glimpses of the offense, but like we mentioned earlier, till they get that run game started, I don't think, they're a semblance of their true self. But I do think they get the run game going. All sorts of injuries, a new center probably this week. People talk about Jalen Hurts wanting payback against the Giants. I think Saquon Barkley got embarrassed. His Saquon documentary came out that day. They were all laughing about it. I think he's angry, and I think his breakout week has been coming. Patullo did stick to his word, gave him 18 carries. And if you watch the video, which I know you guys do, you see Saquon still doing the moves. He gets the ball in his hands. He's doing a spin move. He's gashing up a crease. I mean, it isn't him. He's healthy. He's ready to go.
Yeah.
And he is very close to breaking out, and I think this will be the week they do it. I went Eagles 31-20 with Saquon as my player of the game.
All right. Ryan, you're up. What do you have for us?
Yeah, I just want to mention here, Brett Eclipse stealing my thunder here. It is Kelly Green week, and the Eagles just don't lose on Kelly Green week. So, pretty much everything that David just said, I couldn't agree with more. You can definitely tell that Saquon is being Saquon. He's just having to, last year he had the luxury of waiting about 2 or 3 seconds before he even felt somebody, much less, getting touched. Now, there was one move last game where he had to do an immediate spin move just to get back to the line. Otherwise, it would have been a 4-yard loss.
And then he juked after the spin, too.
Yeah,
he juked back into it. It's crazy.
It just further proves that Saquon is truly an insane human being and an insane athlete. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they do the offensive line, whether or not they take a chance on Toth, whether they bring in Kendall, whether they move over Landon. They have a few options. None of them are great, but if Dickerson is truly going to miss this game, which I kind of want him to, give him that and the bye to kind of recoup a bit. So that way, heading into Green Bay, we could potentially have a fully healthy offensive line. That would be fantastic. But yeah, I think I'm going to go with a 34 to 24 victory over the Giants. I think the Giants will still kind of get theirs, but all I really care about is Jalen Carter and Nakobe Dean just absolutely demolishing that ugly son of a bitch, Cam Scatterbo. I don't want to see any backflips. I don't want to see, any of that crap. I'm sick and tired of already seeing his face. Keep your helmet on, son. You don't have a face for TV. But I'll go with my MVP. I'll go Goddard. Goddard was a little quiet last game, and I think he could have yet another breakout against the Giants.
All right, so there you have it. All of us picking Eagles victories, the Eagles' revenge over the Giants after the meltdown at the Meadowlands a couple of weeks ago. That is gonna about do it for this one. I'll quickly throw it around the horn here for final thoughts, plugs. David, you had an awesome line earlier from a written piece, so plug that. Tell the people where to find all your stuff, man. The floor is yours.
You can find it all at Philly Sports Network. Previewing the games, and there's a lot of content over there, so if you get time, check it out. I know there is a plethora of information you can get all over the place. Follow everybody here. Appreciate you listening to the podcast, downloading all of the shows on Eagles Pinpool Network. Without you guys, this isn't half as fun. It'd just be three of us talking to four people, which is kind of how it may have been at the beginning, but it's a lot better now.
Yeah, absolutely. Be sure you guys check out David's written work. Ryan, how about you, man?
I just want to put this up from Brett Eclipse. You won't be seeing that face too long. His career is going to end in CTE in about 5 years at the rate he's playing. Yeah, listen, certainly not too bad there. But obviously, please make sure you're following everybody here. Please make sure Eagles Pinpool Network, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, X, it does not matter. Please make sure you're following. Please make sure you're sharing, getting it to your friends, family, even your enemies. We'll take them all. But
send the network to a Cowboys fan.
Sure, why not? We always have Cowboy fans, like cockroaches just lying. They probably watch every show and just wait for their moments. But yeah, please make sure you're following all the other shows. As Shane just kind of confirmed, Chalk Talk will be next. You can check me out Mondays. Although we didn't have one last night because of some family things. But Party on Broad on Mondays. Obviously, this show on Tuesdays. And then normally Wednesdays is the Football Smack Talk show. So we're around. Check us out. Tell your friends.
All right, good stuff. Be sure you're following Ryan as well. I will be going live with Mark here in the next 5 to 10 minutes for Chalk Talk. We'll be recapping all of the Week 7 games, except maybe the Seahawks-Texans, because who the heck's staying up to watch a football game that kicks off at 10 p.m.? That's stupid, but I'll stop ranting about the NFL schedule. We'll talk about all the rest of them. Maybe Mark stayed up, but I'm an old man that had to get up early this morning, so.
I have a problem.
Well, there you go. Brian's got a problem, but I've got a lot of stuff going on in Patreon at patreon.com/Eagles Film Room. I posted the Nakobe Dean player spotlight. It was about 30 minutes long. Posted like a 42-minute long past game review this afternoon. Eric and Johnny will be having stuff drop throughout the week as well. On the Shane page will be tomorrow, so lots of content coming your way. Keep it tuned here to the Eagles Pinpool Network. Like David said, we really appreciate you guys following along live, listening to the podcast feed later. It helps it make it all work for us. So thank you guys, and we will catch you next week for another Victory Tuesday edition of the podcast. Go Birds.